I'm aligned with the world. I want to get the thing set. I'm aligned with Europe.
What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go and I want this. Look, your country's in big trouble.
Wait a
minute. No. You've done a lot of talking.
In the esteemed halls of the White House, where diplomacy often straddles a delicate line, an unexpected row erupted on the 28th of February 2025. President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, once allies against aggression, found themselves locked in a public and heated confrontation. The Oval Office, typically a stage for unity, became the epicenter of a clash that sent shockwaves through international relations.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly what
this. You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
The meeting, initially set to solidify a pivotal minerals agreement granting the US access to Ukraine's rare earth elements, devolved into a contentious exchange. Trump's insistence on immediate peace negotiations with Russia clashed with Zelensky's demands for concrete security assurances.
I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. Ceasefire. All of them told me that he will never go. We signed him with gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people and he didn't exchange prisoners. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
In a further development, the US has now paused all military aid to Ukraine as President Trump cites a lack of appreciation for US support to date. The discord not only stalled the minerals deal, but also cast a shadow over the future of US-Ukraine relations, leaving global leaders and analysts grappling with its far-reaching implications. Welcome to the Global Insight. The war between Ukraine and Russia, which erupted into a full-scale invasion on February 24, 2022, has reshaped global geopolitics. Russian forces launched attacks across Ukraine targeting key cities such as Berdyansk, Chernihiv, Kharkiv, Odessa, Sumy, and the capital Kiev. This invasion followed years of escalating tensions, with Russia amassing troops along Ukraine's borders as early as 2021. Moscow's demand centered around NATO expansion, insisting that Ukraine be permanently barred from joining the alliance. These ultimatums were rejected by the West, and when diplomacy failed, war became inevitable. According to reports, the scale of destruction and human suffering has been immense, with widespread devastation across Ukraine's cities and millions displaced as refugees. Throughout the war, the United States has been Ukraine's most critical backer, providing billions in military aid, financial assistance, and diplomatic support. However, shifting political dynamics in Washington have raised fresh concerns about the reliability of US commitments. While the international community has largely condemned Russia's actions as a blatant violation of Ukraine's sovereignty, the future of Western support remains uncertain. With new leadership in the White House, questions loom over whether America will continue to stand firmly behind Kiev or whether strategic interests will take precedence over long-standing alliances. The latest confrontation between Presidents Trump and Zelensky has only added fuel to this uncertainty, leaving Ukraine and its European allies bracing for what comes next. What was meant to be a diplomatic milestone quickly turned into a political brawl, On February the 28th, 2025, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky arrived at the White House for a high-stakes meeting with US President Donald Trump. The agenda was clear: finalizing a strategic agreement granting the US access to Ukraine's vast reserves of rare earth minerals in exchange for continued military aid. However, instead of fostering cooperation, the meeting unraveled into a tense exchange that exposed deep fractures between Washington and Kiev. Trump, joined by Vice President J.D. Vance, berated Zelensky, accusing him of showing insufficient gratitude for US support and obstructing efforts to negotiate an end to the war. According to reports, the atmosphere was hostile from the outset, with Trump even making pointed remarks about Zelensky's attire, his signature military fatigues, this time in black, a stark reminder of Ukraine's ongoing war effort. The confrontation escalated when Trump demanded that Zelensky either accept a deal to end the war or risk losing US support entirely.
But you're either going to make a deal or we're out. And if we're out, you'll fight it out. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but you'll fight it out. But you don't have the cards. But once we sign that deal, you're in a much better position. But you're not acting at all thankful. And that's not a nice thing. I'll be honest, that's not a nice thing.
Zelensky, standing firm, reiterated Ukraine's need for concrete security guarantees, something the Trump administration has repeatedly hesitated to provide.
If you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
With guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't with me.
For you what,
that
what
wasn't with me.
Means.
That was with a guy named Biden, who was not a smart person. That was with Obama.
It was your president.
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
At the heart of the clash were three key points of contention. First, the minerals deal. Zelensky was unwilling to grant US access to Ukraine's critical resources without ironclad security assurances. Second, the security dilemma. Kiev demanded long-term military commitments, while Trump remained non-committal. And lastly, Trump's stance on Putin loomed over the discussion as the US president emphasized his personal rapport with the Russian leader and suggested that Zelensky's hardline position was an obstacle to peace. The meeting ended without resolution, but its fallout is already sending ripples through global politics, raising urgent questions about America's role in the war and the future of the transatlantic alliance. In the aftermath of the explosive Trump-Zelensky meeting, European leaders wasted no time in reaffirming their support for Ukraine. French President Emmanuel Macron was among the most vocal, drawing a clear line between aggressor Russia and victim Ukraine. Macron underscored that supporting Ukraine was not just a moral imperative, but a strategic necessity for European security. He insisted that sanctions against Russia must continue and that the sacrifices of Ukrainians fighting for their independence should not be in vain. His remarks carried a veiled warning to Washington. Europe would not follow the US in any shift towards appeasing Moscow. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk struck a similarly resolute tone, directly addressing Ukraine with the words, "You are not alone," a statement that resonated deeply given Poland's historical fears of Russian aggression. Meanwhile, Dutch Prime Minister Dick Schoof reaffirmed the Netherlands' unwavering commitment to achieving a lasting peace through continued military and economic support for Ukraine. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz added his voice to the chorus, assuring Zelensky that Germany and the broader European community would not abandon Ukraine in its fight for sovereignty. As Trump's position on Ukraine grows increasingly ambiguous, Europe's leaders are making it clear. They are standing firm against Russian aggression, with or without Washington's backing.
Europe must do the heavy lifting.
The dramatic fallout from the Trump-Zelensky showdown is more than just a diplomatic incident. It has exposed widening fractures within the transatlantic alliance. Trump's America First doctrine, which prioritizes US strategic interests over traditional alliances, has fueled growing skepticism among European NATO members without Washington's long-term commitment to European security. The confrontation has deepened an already brewing divide, with European leaders increasingly questioning whether they can still rely on the United States as a steadfast partner. According to analysts, Trump's insistence on transactional diplomacy, demanding gratitude from Ukraine while downplaying security commitments, has only exacerbated tensions within NATO. Beyond Ukraine, Trump's broader approach to Europe has raised alarms. His willingness to negotiate with Russia, impose tariffs on European goods, and reconsider US military presence on the continent has unsettled key allies. Some European leaders are now openly discussing the possibility of reducing their dependence on US military protection and pursuing greater strategic autonomy. There is growing speculation about potential US troop withdrawals from Europe, a move that could fundamentally reshape the post-World War II security order. As America recalibrates its foreign policy under Trump's leadership, the transatlantic alliance faces an uncertain future, with Europe increasingly forced to reconsider its own defense capabilities in the face of a volatile geopolitical landscape. The heated exchange between Trump and Zelensky was more than just a diplomatic clash. It was a moment of reckoning for the transatlantic alliance. This confrontation has laid bare deep structural tensions, raising critical questions about the future of US involvement in European security and the broader geopolitical balance. With Washington's stance on Ukraine growing increasingly unpredictable and European leaders reaffirming their commitment to Kiev, the cracks in the Western alliance are becoming more pronounced. The possibility of a more fragmented global order looms large as NATO struggles to maintain unity amid shifting US foreign policy priorities. What happens next could redefine the security architecture of Europe and beyond. Will the US remain a reliable pillar of NATO, or will Trump's vision of diplomacy push America towards a more isolationist path? Will Europe take greater responsibility for its own defense, reshaping the power dynamics within the alliance? As the situation evolves, one thing is certain: this moment will have lasting consequences for Ukraine, NATO, and the world. That's it from our team at the Global Insight for now. We want to hear what you think. How does this confrontation affect the future of the US-Ukraine relationship? Do you believe that Europe can stand on its own if US support wavers? And what do you think about Trump's stance on NATO and Russia? As always, please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel here at the Global Insight, and until next time, stay tuned.